The best 4 days on the sports calendar start tonight. Locked on Illini, let's go.
You are Locked on Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome one, welcome all to another episode of Locked on Illini. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Sonny Verma, your host here at Locked on Illini, and someone who would love a chance to talk to you. So find me on your favorite social media, send me a message, say something nice, say something not so nice, just keep it constructive. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see the bags under my eyes, and that's because I was already up last night watching and diagnosing the Xavier against Texas basketball game, because that's who is going to be our first opponent on Friday. The Xavier Musketeers ended up being victorious in a game which kind of went how I would have predicted. Texas, for the most part, was the better team during the game. They were at one point up 13 points. But Xavier never relented, and I'd let that be a lesson for the Illini on Friday night. Now, let's just talk about the game briefly a little bit on Friday. I watched both these teams play on Wednesday night, and my opinion has not changed. Illinois should win this game on Friday, and then that would have been my answer if Texas won. That's my answer now that Xavier won. Illinois opened up as a 2.5-point favorite. Now, I believe as of this recording, it had gone up to -3.5 for Illinois. So Illinois is the favorite. And quite honestly, from what I saw, at least on Wednesday night, I think Illinois should be a slightly stronger favorite. But that doesn't mean that Illinois fans should be breathing easy about Friday. Not that you are, especially with the history that we've had over the last few years. I know we had a successful one last season, but when it comes to tournament time, when it comes to our head coach, we know that we don't and shouldn't take things for granted. The Xavier team is, I don't know, are they talented? They're a talented group. They're an older group, right? I think Ken Palm has one of the top 5 most experienced rosters in the country. And it's a team that, I'll tell you right now, as I mentioned earlier, they're down 13 at one point. They're not going to give up. Okay, so this is one of those where even if Illinois feeds off that Milwaukee crowd and gets to a very big, early, strong start, goes up 10, 15 points in that first half, got to keep it up. Xavier will keep chipping away. Their players aren't going to get intimidated. I think it was Sam Olber who tweeted at me on Wednesday night saying you can tell that the Xavier crowd, the crowd was, I think, 45 minutes away from the Xavier campus. So it was predominantly a pro-Musketeers crowd. They were giving the support to the Xavier basketball players. And we're hoping that on Friday night, the proximity gives Illinois a little advantage with it being in Milwaukee. Talking about the game on Wednesday night a little bit, Texas came out firing. Trey Johnson ultimately finished with 23 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. Not a great night, though. This is kind of what I fear about those can't-miss NBA prospects in settings like this. They could go one of two ways. One, they could realize, hey, I'm going to make a name for myself now. I'm going to establish myself as a name that's going to be known by the masses when it comes to the NBA draft in June. Or you can have a kid who is sort of maybe already thinking about the NBA and his head wasn't completely in on the game on Wednesday night. Now, obviously, I'm not saying for certain, but Texas played the way I thought Texas would play and the way that I talked about it in the game preview when I was asked, who would I rather play, Texas or Xavier? I acknowledge that Texas has a better roster. They've got the superstar talent and just up and down. They've got more athletes on their team. But ultimately, I said I'd rather play Texas because what I was afraid of with Xavier is just the better coaching and more importantly, the three-point shooting. And the three-point shooting for Xavier didn't disappoint. They finished 12 of 25, shooting 48%. And the concerning thing is that arguably their best three-point shooter, Ryan Conwell, was only 1 for 3. So he may be due. We're just going to have to hope that he doesn't turn things around on Friday night against the Illini, because he certainly can. My confidence level on the game on Friday night hasn't wavered, really. I still think this is one of those games where, when we looked at Loyola, the analytics back in the day suggested that Loyola was considerably closer to Illinois than most people were giving credit for. Xavier, I'll be honest, and this would have gone for Texas as well, I'm not worried about their big men at all. I really hope that Brand Underwood, the coaching staff, they're being paid millions of dollars. They saw what I saw, and they have nobody that's going to be able to guard Tommy Visic. They have nobody who's going to be able to even put a body on Morez Johnson. Zach Freemantle is a very good player. Zach is also about my age. He's 6'9", 227 pounds. He has an okay inside game, but it only looked okay really against Texas because Texas didn't have a big to oppose that. Zach can make the three-pointer, although he had one of the worst-looking three-pointers I've ever seen at the end of that Wednesday game, which it didn't touch the rim, nothing. But the ball bounced an Xavier player's way, and he offensive rebounded it and scored. But that's what happens in March, right? That's the whole point. That's the beauty of this sport. This is why it's by far my favorite time of the sports calendar, just because things happen and balls bounce certain ways. With Illinois, again, keep Xavier from the three-point line. Now, I know the good thing is that for the most part, Illinois' defense is designed that way. They'd rather, and they'd almost be okay with you taking 2-point shots as long as you don't make the threes, because Illinois, on the other end, likes to shoot the threes. And that's one of the three key points to this game that's going to happen on Friday night. First and foremost, don't let Xavier get off three-pointers. We've seen it happen the last couple games now where we have an opponent, a single player on an opponent, just go off for 3 points, make 8 3-pointers, 6 3-pointers. We can't let that happen because Xavier has the guys that can make it happen. Again, Xavier may not have a talented roster compared to what Illinois has or even compared to what Texas has, but they had 8 guys, 8 rotational players that they got to play for 12 minutes minimum each on Wednesday night. And, they're not afraid of the moment, as witnessed by the fact that they were down pretty big to Texas and they never relented. They're not going to relent against Illinois either. The kid I mentioned earlier, Ryan Conwell, he's 6'4", 215 pounds, a junior. What's the strategy for Brad? Is this Kylan's assignment? That's what I probably foresee happening, at least right off the tip-off. I've been talking about Kylan and Trey White a lot over this past week about how important that veteran leadership is going to be for such a young basketball team. And this is just one of those games where, I talked about how Kylan's going to be my focal point for Friday. Just we don't need as much offense from Kylan as we may have in the past. Just play defense. Set the tone with your defense, because if you make Ryan Conwell's life miserable on Friday night and share those duties with a guy like Trey White, I think you set yourself up for an easier path to win for the Illini. So Kylan, I think he's going to be the most important player on Friday. Just hopefully, he's had some fantastic defensive games, but let's be honest, he's had a couple of clunkers too. He absolutely, don't get me wrong, should have been on the All Big Ten defensive team, and he was completely robbed of that. But, maybe this is a type of statement game for a guy like Kylan to, again, as I mentioned earlier, set the tone. Bottle up Conwell. Conwell didn't have a great game against Texas on Wednesday night. I really do think that the game script for Xavier revolves on Ryan going off for 25 plus points, the way, we had that kid from Iowa do against us, and also Maryland. We can't let that happen again. Xavier's a good basketball team, but quite honestly, Illinois probably has the 6 or 7 best players on the court when they get on the court on Friday night. And so you need to kind of establish that dominance, which brings me to another key. Just make your jump shots. Let's not make this any harder than it needs to be. Illinois is a better basketball team than Xavier. Sure, Xavier has a fantastic coach, Sean Miller. And by the way, if I'm Texas and it sounds like Terry is on the hot seat and that he's going to be let go, I would have just done it Wednesday night and then walked across the hall and offered Sean Miller that job, because he is a great coach. He's got great history. I think I mentioned 8 tournaments where he's won multiple games. I'm very interested to see what he's got schemed up for Illinois. After the game on Wednesday, the reporter did ask him what he thought of Illinois. He's like, I don't care. And some people took it the wrong way. I just took it as he was happy for his team. He was just happy and wanted to celebrate in the moment the victory that Xavier had over Texas. But quite honestly, I've said this before. I've been saying it all episode long. Illinois should win this game. If I were handicapping the game myself, I would say Illinois 5.5, 6 points. But the truth is, this could be a double-digit victory for Illinois, but this could be a double-digit victory for Xavier as well. One of the downsides of watching Wednesday night is watching Texas. I hate to say it, but I saw glimpses of what Illinois tends to become on occasion. I think with 2 minutes left, you had kids like Trey Johnson just playing iso ball, hero ball, dribbling for no reason. There's very little motion going on in the court, and then ultimately just jacking up a three-pointer that completely was not necessary. And how many times have we seen that as Illini fans when our offense does that? It drives us crazy, and it's going to be possessions like that that's going to give Xavier hope and Xavier the opportunity to win this game. Whether they do or not, we're going to find out on Friday. As you guys all know, I'm going to be live immediately afterwards. So make sure you've hit that like button, you've hit that subscribe button, more importantly, even the notification bell. So you know, like literally the second I go live to talk about this game. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Did you want to play Xavier or did you want to play Texas? And has your opinion changed from Wednesday night? Do you feel more confident or less confident in the Illini's chances on Friday night? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. And you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Me personally, I'm spending way too much money going out to eat. I got 2 kids. I'm tired. It's easy to go get food from the fast food restaurant. I know I got to keep that in check. And with Monarch Money, instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Imagine watching your favorite team live, feeling the energy of the crowd and witnessing unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experiencing a big game live. Getting tickets shouldn't be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute deals at unbeatable prices. Game Time Picks. Curation makes it easier to find better values for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc., etc. And you have a little peace of mind. When you do buy your tickets, you can have the seat views before you buy. No surprise fees and lowest price guarantee. You can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back. I know we're all focused on the tournament right now, as we should be, but there's already whispers about certain other transfer portal entries and potential targets that Illinois might be in line for this upcoming offseason. So I wanted to bring them to your attention. First off, Iowa 6'6" junior Josh Dix. Now this, if you're in the Locked On Illini Discord, and if you aren't, why not? The link is in the description. You knew about this a few days ago. You knew about this as soon as Fran McCaffrey was let go from Iowa, because that's when communication was established between Dix's camp and the Illini camp. Who reached out to who, I'm not sure, but I can tell you for sure that communication happened then, and I let the Discord know immediately. Now, whether Dix is going to ultimately come to Illinois, I'm not even remotely hinting that. I think there's a very sick family member, and there's a lot of rumors that Creighton here is a very strong candidate for Josh to go to. But, he's a 3-level scorer, which is kind of what Illinois wants, right? A 6'6" junior, as I said. He averaged 14, 3 and 3 and shot 51% from the field and 42% from three-point land, 69% at the rim, 49% from the mid-range. Again, this is the typical type of player that Brad Underwood wants. He looked for length in his players because Illinois was the second biggest team in the Power Four this season, and that wasn't by accident. I do think that he thinks that having extra size creates advantages both offensively and defensively. And so this doesn't shock me that 6'6" junior is the type of guy that Brad's going to kind of focus on and, or try to put on his roster next year. Another guy I wanted to talk about was from Nevada. His name's Nick Davidson. He's 6'10" junior who averaged 15.8 points per game, 6.5 rebounds per game, and 3 assists a game this past season. Again, he was also contacted by Illinois. The seriousness, I'm not completely sure yet. But again, at 6'10", guys, the template is there. I've been saying the template's been there for a year now. Illinois is targeting this sort of player, a taller guy who can spread the floor. In a way, it's interesting to see, they went this route with Ben Hummerkaus this past offseason. It didn't quite work out the way that they wanted. I think I'm free to share that. I don't know if Brad ever would, but maybe it's because of the jump that Ben had to make, from going from Evansville to here. It's different for a guy coming from Iowa, right? Iowa, he knows what the Big Ten gyms smell like. He knows what the views from all the basketball rims. Like, he understands the atmosphere of what Big Ten basketball looks like. This kid, Nick Davidson, same sort of thing. Nevada is from a higher profile program than Evansville is. So, maybe Brad obviously is still looking to, he could still bring back Ben Hummerkaus, don't get me wrong, but he can also maybe upgrade and try to go back and get the version of Ben Hummerkaus that he was hoping to get last season. How they're going to fit on this team, I don't know. None of us know, because we don't really know what next year's team is going to look like. I feel very confident that Kylan's coming back, and that's probably about it. I do think Tommy Avicic is coming back, though every now and then he's getting sprinkled in to mock drafts late in the second round. I think both sides, whether it's Illinois or Tommy's side, probably realize it's a better idea for Tommy to come back for at least 1 year, work with Orlando on his footwork, on just developing some sort of inside low post game. Because I absolutely think that Avicic could be a first-round draft pick with a little extra coaching and maybe 1 more year of basketball next year. Morez Johnson, of course, everyone in the world is going to want back, and I think he's going to be the main focus of Brad to have return next season. But, Morez is going to command a very big NIL number himself. Everyone's seen just how valuable and talented that he is. Do I foresee him leaving? No, I don't. But, I'm in this day and age of college basketball, I'd be a fool to say that there was zero chance of it happening. But the tricky situation is going to be with guys like Trey White. Will Riley is probably going to the NBA. Let me rephrase that. Will Riley and Kasperi Shakishonis are absolutely going to the NBA. So let's scratch those guys off of next year's roster. So you have a guy like Trey White. Now, if you do bring back Morez Johnson, and you do bring back a guy like Kylan Boswell, well, absolutely you're going to need 3-point shooting. And that's why a guy like Dix, a guy like Davidson here would be absolutely valuable in bringing to this basketball team next year. They could kind of, slide right in, and you can still have that all-out 3-point attack that Brad Underwood seems to really want to build his teams around. But what does it do? Doesn't it also kind of diminish your defense a little bit more? I've watched Dix play plenty in the Big Ten basketball league, and he's not exactly a very strong defender. And this Illinois basketball team isn't already a very strong defensive team in itself. Quite honestly, I don't recall ever having seen Nick Davidson play outside highlights, so I can't really just have an opinion on his defense quite just yet until I dig into the numbers a little bit. But, if you want to fix the defense, well, I don't know if these two are necessarily the answer. And now let's just go in with a hypothetical lineup for next season. I'm going to be bringing this up more and more, especially when we do hit the offseason. Let's just say we get Kylan back. Let's just say we get Dame Sarr, the kid from Italy, to commit once Will Riley officially announces he's going to the NBA. Then you have your three of, let's put in Dix or Trey White. And let's just say Trey White. Number 4, you have Morez Johnson. And number 5, at the 5 spot, you have Ivisic. Very good lineup. A lineup that's absolutely capable of winning 12 Big Ten games again. 20 games overall. But is that a championship level lineup? Are you so confident that a kid like Sarr, who, don't get me wrong, has an immensely high ceiling, arguably as high as Will Riley's, maybe even higher actually, depending on which expert you listen to, is he able to be the superstar that I still think that team would need in order to win a national championship, which I have said that I think the next year's team is capable of winning? That's where I'm just a little hesitant. I don't know how many roster spots we're going to have. All I do know is that Illinois is going to be very, very aggressive with trying to retain the talent that we had from this season. We've seen what a headache it is to try to replace 10 guys on a roster. And honestly, not just how much of a headache it was for Brad Underwood, putting the roster together, but also on the court. You can see the inconsistencies of this basketball team who, was just a bunch of guys who had never played together. I don't think he wants to go through that again next year, especially when you have such a potentially strong, solid foundation. But with the absence of Will and with the absence of Kasparis, I still think you're going to be missing that superstar that can win a national championship for you. And with, it's almost a good problem to have with Boswell, Trey White, Ivisic, Morez Johnson. You have a lot of really, really good players who take up a lot of, quite a few basketball roster spots. So you have a very seldom amount to try to fill that superstar spot. Now, keep in mind, Kasparis, we didn't even get till May of this past year. So whoever this alleged superstar on next year's team is going to be, we may have never even heard of yet. But it's just interesting to note, again, these transfer portal notes are going to come in each and every day as new players enter. Players are going to be, getting eliminated from the NCAA tournament, and you're going to hear about them entering the transfer portal shortly thereafter. I'll keep you guys up to tabs as much as I can when it comes to who Illinois is talking to, and we can kind of discuss back and forth whether we think it's a good fit or not. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think Josh Dix would be a good addition to the Illini? What about this kid, Nick Davidson? Again, I haven't seen much tape on him. The numbers jump out to me as a Brad Underwood type of player. So that it completely makes sense, at least on paper. But if you have seen Nick, let me know your thoughts. Right in the comments. Daylight savings snuck up on us again. And if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Whether I'm at a game or traveling, 5-Hour Energy is easy to grab and keeps me refreshed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
As most of you know, at this point, Indiana has hired Darren Devries from West Virginia to be their new head coach to lead that Hoosier program. And that's only notable for Illini fans because of who Darren may or may not bring with him. And this is a special message to Coach Chester Frazier, who has a long history with the Indiana Hoosiers in a pro-Illinois way. Please don't take that job. I really hope. Hey, look, you know what? Actually, I'm changing the tone of this segment. This segment is no longer geared towards Coach Frazier. This segment is geared towards the West Virginia Mountaineers program. Just hire Chester. All right. The guy's coached for you guys long enough. He understands your program. He's been in that area for enough amount of time. You have your head coach in waiting there. He's been in your locker room. Your players love him. Sincere Harris has already been vouching for him to be your next head coach. Don't make things awkward. Listen, Chester obviously has a good relationship with Darren. And so, of course, I would expect Chester to want to follow Darren to whatever job he was going to next. But the fact that it's Indiana, look, we all saw Chester and Eric Gordon and that interaction at half court when Eric Gordon came to Champaign. Let that be the lasting memory of what we want to think of when we think of Coach Frazier or the basketball player Frazier in an Illini uniform. We don't want to have to root against him ever. So please, Mountaineers, don't make this any more complicated than you need to. You have your head coach in waiting. Just hire him. You're going to keep most of your roster. And quite honestly, I think you're going to have a really good basketball coach moving forward. That's going to wrap it up for Locked On Illini today. Again, basketball is going to kick off in just a couple hours as of this recording. If there's any breaking news, obviously just make sure you subscribe to this channel. I'll be here to break it for you right away. Otherwise, I'm going to be interviewing, hopefully, a member of the Xavier media team and content creator to get a little scouting report on Xavier, who can maybe describe them a little bit more in depth than I can from the few games I've watched of them. But you're not going to miss any content as long as you're subscribed to this channel. So make sure you are. It's going to be a fun weekend of college basketball, and you need to look place no other than Locked On Illini. So make sure you're subscribed. And until next time, ILL. Love you guys.